Good evening, SEC Nation, and welcome to this instant reaction live on SEC at the Voice of College Football of the 2026 Fiesta Bowl from yours truly, Jetson Johnson and Tucker Harlan, as we go over our reaction of what transpired tonight, as there are now no SEC teams in the playoffs. And let me tell you something, folks. We're going to take you in for a wild ride and a good time for a long time on this Thursday night. And for some of you are getting ready for a Friday, as it is Eastern time for some of you guys watching this video. How you doing tonight, good buddy?
Oh, doing just fine. Watched another instant classic football game. That's the best way to put it. I mean, truly another phenomenal college football playoff game, and what has been a pretty strong year for the college football playoff overall. I'd say you've seen pretty good games all across the board, aside some of the ones in the first round. I know Indiana, Alabama was not phenomenal, but overall, I think this has been a very well-rounded playoff.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to see what happened tonight. And, we'll just kind of start it off with how Trinidad Chambliss was doing. He was basically close, but no cigar. And, Keywood Lacey, we saw where he was getting hurt, but they had that, the thing on it, that little leg brace or something like that. It was a little compression thing.
Yeah. Yeah, he had the run early on in the game, didn't play the rest of the first half after that run just because of that the because he had to put that brace on there. It was like they were wondering whether or not he should go back into the game. They had Logan Diggs in there for a little while, and then they eventually put him back in the game, which I think was the best case scenario for Ole Miss. So obviously, you don't want to see star players get hurt in a game like this. I know there were a couple guys that got banged up on both sides. Miami, in particular, had a couple that got banged up. I know Keith Mesidor was a guy that was banged up at one point. Jacoby Thomas, former Vol Jacoby Thomas, was at least left the game for a little bit because of trying to lead with a shoulder, and he ended up hurting that shoulder that he led with. So always want to see your best players play on the best stage, and I think that's what we saw tonight. And really phenomenal game once again. The Carson Beck redemption tour continues, I guess, for Miami after this. But you're right about Trinidad Chambliss. This game with Trinidad, I don't think they were really in a rhythm for really about 2.5 quarters of this game. Like, it very much felt like Miami was playing Miami's game until it got into the later stages of the game. And then Ole Miss started doing some of the things we've been accustomed to seeing the Rebels do most of the season. So I'm not going to sit here and call it a too little, too late scenario for Ole Miss because they obviously had a lead late in the game. But I just think they were not able to dictate that game for much of it. I know time of possession was pretty steep in favor of Miami. I know it was over 30 minutes at one point. I'm sure it's like well over 35 minutes. I've not got the stats in front of me, but that was kind of the plan going into this game. Can they just play keep away, use your offense as your defense to some degree, keep Ole Miss off the field? And that's a big part of the reason why they managed to get out of this game, even though I don't think this was as nitty gritty of a game as Miami would have preferred to have played.
Yeah, and I noticed that there were a lot of penalties throughout the game. Like, there were so many penalties. Like, you can't even count them. Like, I mean, there were like 10 penalties on Miami and 4 of them on Ole Miss. Like, that played a huge part in tonight's game.
Yeah, it did. And I'll say most of the penalties were penalties. Holding apparently was an optional call for the officials tonight. There were holdings on both sides, blunt holdings that were missed over the course of this game. I don't know why they just kept the flags in their pockets. I know Miami had a couple different false starts over the course of the game. There were some pass interference penalties on Ole Miss. Of course, you had the face mask, which I guess doubled as a pass interference penalty. Is this the final play of the game?
Yeah, that's the foul play of the game. Is that pass interference? What do you think?
I might have been. I mean, you don't want a penalty to decide the last play of any game. You don't want a foul to do that in basketball either. Like, I think you very much want the players to decide the outcome. So I'm not saying it wasn't a penalty, but I just think in that scenario it would have sucked. And also, I don't think those officials wanted Miami fans to relive the bad memories from that Ohio State national championship game all those years ago either. That may be why they kept the flag in their pocket there. But there was one other penalty. Oh yeah, the targeting thing is fascinating. I think we as a football society need to do away with targeting because there at the time in which it was instated into college football, it made sense, right? You had guys that were spearing and you needed to try and get that out of the game. And I think for the most part they did. But here's the problem. You have to protect defenseless players and you don't want guys leading with their head going into a play. But there are so many different layers to the targeting rule that helmet to helmet contact is not necessarily indicative of an ejection. I think for one, the ejection is stupid. There's no need to be doing that. Just call it unnecessary roughness at this point. That's what the NFL does. That's what high school does. Why does college have to make it so specific? If the rule is going to be about player safety and ejecting players, that's just I think the rule is a little dated at this point. That's a big part of the problem. It's kind of like the conference championship weekend, a little too dated for the era of college football that we're in.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt about it. I mean, it's completely insane. But yeah, I will say, and just kind of like looking back at like the defense for Ole Miss was doing a pretty good job tonight and until like the tail end.
That's somewhat of a subjective statement there, Jackson, because I was looking at this game and Miami wants to play it a certain way, right? Mark Fletcher goes for 133 on the ground in this one. And they just kept feeding the ball to him. That's what they needed to be doing over the course of the game. They just handed the ball on 1st and 10. He's got 5 or 6 yards, and suddenly, Miami is in business, and they don't really have to air the ball out that much. So that was obviously a big help for them. I think Shamar Brown was a big help as well for Miami in this game. And then you look at the passing game too for Miami. Keelan Marion got way more involved than I was expecting him to tonight, because you think of this receiving core, you think of Malachi Toney and CJ Daniels. Toney, of course, had the one big touchdown run in the 4th quarter, but Marion, of course, had the touchdown catch in the first half where, that was the play where Suntarine Perkins was running straight at Carson Beck and he just stopped, just froze, like he had a glitch in his system or something. And Beck just hit him. He was wide open down the field. So Miami, I think, was able to do what it wanted offensively in this game. Ole Miss, I think, had a tough time matching the physicality of that offensive line. That's something we've talked about on this show just in previews with some of these SEC teams going against Miami. Like, can they match the physicality? And clearly Miami was able to push around Ole Miss a lot of the night.
Oh, yeah. They were. And one of the things that really kept Ole Miss in the game was the field goal game as well. Like how about that doink? That was good.
Yeah, there were a couple of doinks in this game for Ole Miss. One not good, and then the other one that was good. So, Lucas Carnero, he is going to make some money as a kicker in the NFL. I have no doubt about that. He's been very good for Ole Miss in the playoffs. Was very good for Ole Miss in the playoffs. He hit the 58-yarder tonight, right before halftime, I think.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, he's got a leg, and unfortunately, he did miss the one, but. The guy's got a very nice future. I'll say that much. So, I guess after just having seen a kicker that is, not delivering in clutch moments. It's refreshing to see a kicker like that.
Oh yeah, it was huge. I mean, kid's got a bright future ahead of him.
Yeah.
And the chat, Miami, Indiana, all the way. What's up, Godfather SEC? I mean, keeping us updated on Gonzaga playing against Santa Clara. Man, I can't believe Gonzaga's in their final year of the West Coast Conference.
They need to move up.
Yeah, I mean, it's like
you're just gifting them that conference every single year, unless St. Mary's happens to beat them in the championship game, but they're still going to make the tournament either way.
oh man. Ron Loney 4700 says SEC just means less. Well, I mean, we had that coming. We got the trash talkers coming in.
Yeah, Ron Loney is a hater, apparently, hater of the SEC. But
who's this team? I'm wondering.
Yeah, I would like to know as well. But Ole Miss, though, I'll be honest, of the teams that are in the SEC right now, they're probably one of the ones I despise less. I mean, part of it is I have a bunch of family members that are Ole Miss fans. I'm just not one of them anymore. And then also Montana State Bobcats.
Oh, you're a Montana State fan?
For real? Wow. That's fascinating.
Oh man, that's cool.
Yeah, but
a Montana State fan in the chat.
Yeah, but generally speaking, I do not root for the successes of other SEC football teams. I know if our buddy Andrew Miller was with us tonight, I know he really wanted to be with us, but if he was with us, this would be a very joyous occasion for him.
Yeah,
very joyous.
Oh man, he'd be happy for sure because I mean, Ole Miss coming up short. I mean, especially them being a Mississippi State man, he'd definitely be happy about it. But I mean, just kind of looking back on it, how far Ole Miss came. They came close to a natty. I mean, that's the close they've been in such a long, long time.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean we're talking 65 years basically. I'm trying to remember. It's 62 or 61.
63.
Oh, it's 63.
63. Yep, the last time they won a natty was in 1962, but after in 1963, that was the last time they won an SEC title. Yeah. Which ironically they played Alabama in a Sugar Bowl rematch.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this is speaking volumes about Ole Miss. This is something that we talked about after the show last night. Me, Andrew, and Josh did after you had to Bolt Jackson. But when you think about the base, the fan base of Ole Miss fans, it is a lot of old Southern money that has been around for generations. And now that the NIL era exists and you can pay players, they can be.
Oh, you muted Tucker.
Is that
you're back?
Okay.
You were saying
does that audio still sound the same, by the way?
Sounds same.
Okay. Yeah. So Ole Miss, now they can essentially go out and buy the team that they are envisioning with that old Southern money that they got. And, it's good for them that they've come this far because, in a divisionless SEC too, it gives you a lot more opportunities. Like this season going into the year, my projection for Ole Miss was that, hey, they could surprise some people. Now, granted, we didn't know what Trinidad was going to be this year for Ole Miss. But, looking at their schedule, I was just like, when you look at the home games, they're pretty manageable. You got two pretty tough road games in Oklahoma and Georgia. Kentucky and Mississippi State both don't look good as road opponents. And your non-conference schedule, your toughest game was supposed to be Wake Forest. Wake Forest canceled out of that, so you got Washington State instead. So you could just be looking at it like, you know what?
USC canceled out on Ole Miss. That was the funny one because Lane Kiffin's a chicken. So
yeah, he is.
I said worse on other shows about him,
but no, with Ole Miss, it's like you knew there was a chance this could happen. It just took shape, I think, a little differently than most of us thought it would. So, no, I think this says a lot about the progress of the Ole Miss football program. Now, whether or not they can keep this thing rolling under Pete Golding is another question. I mean, we've seen in other sports where sometimes the interim head coaches don't always work out in the long run. Not that Golding is an interim, obviously, but sometimes when you have a run like this, it doesn't always translate.
True.
The next couple seasons, see Rodney Terry at Texas basketball after they went on that run after they had to fire Chris Beard midseason. But yeah, I think this is a historical moment for them, seriously, because the Ole Miss that I grew up with essentially rode the 3-9 to 9-3 roller coaster. Didn't really get much better than that, because one of those years under Houston Nutt, they won, I think, a Cotton Bowl against Oklahoma State, like 2009, I believe it was. And then the next two seasons,
Oh yeah, that was on Fox. The
yeah.
2000 that was the 2010 Cotton Bowl on Fox.
And then the 2 seasons after that, they went 4-8 and 2-10. That's just who they are as a program traditionally. But
Oh yeah, Jeremiah Masoli was supposed to get things rolling 2010, but they started off the 2010 season losing by a 2-point conversion to Jacksonville State on September 4th, 2010.
I do remember that because they had some funky losses that year. But then, of course, Freeze brought them back up to that near high that we had been talking about, like you bring them to the top of their little 9-win roller coaster. And then what do you know? Freeze gets caught with prostitutes. So now they fall back down to 4-8 and to the bottom of the roller coaster. That's what they were as a program for a long time. But maybe the portal and NIL is here to, keep them at or near the top, as opposed to making them a 3-9, 9-3 roller coaster team every single year.
Oh yeah, I mean, like who knows? Maybe the Pete Golden era can get things really better, but who knows? I mean, the Lane Kiffin era was pretty good, but maybe the Pete Golden era can continue the magic that was in the postseason. But that was coming. I knew that was coming. Austin was like, time for that public Miami apology, but it's like I said Miami does well in the spotlight,
Yeah,
and they do well on the spotlight.
they sure do.
That's something they do a lot, but it looks like they can pull it off possibly. And we got a $1 super chat from Sports Talk with Austin. We appreciate the $1 super chat, good buddy.
Absolutely. Yeah, the Carson Beck thing is so fascinating, just having watched him play in the SEC and how things ended at Georgia. And it is kind of funny to see all the Georgia fans sitting at home and Miami going to the national championship for that reason, because I talked about, not having sympathy for most SEC fan bases. Georgia is another one that I absolutely do not have sympathy for.
Well, they can always drive drunk and go home and vent on the porch like they always do.
When you said drive there, I got really scared for a second, Jackson. They with Carson Beck, that what he's been able to do this year is good for him personally. I don't think he's been anything phenomenal, but he's had better receivers surrounding him in CJ Daniels, of course, Malachi Toney, and as we saw tonight, Keelan Marion looking very good as well. So, I mean, he's been good. He's been really, really good. I mean, you're not looking at him as this All-American caliber quarterback by any means, but he's having a little bit of a redemption story. We'll see if it can end with a national championship. And if he was forced out of Georgia, and this is how he's trying to make up for it now with a college football playoff run in Miami, good for him, man. Really good for him.
I mean, like that's a pretty good story right there for Beck. I mean, like, the start of the U Part 3, but this time it's on Netflix or Disney Plus. Like, who knows? I mean, like, that's a good storyline for him right there.
Fubo TV, CW Network.
Fubo TV. That's oh man, that's funny. But yeah, just like looking at everything, and Cristobal, this was exactly what Miami envisioned when they got Mario Cristobal. Behind the scenes, 2021, get ready for 2022. And, like the 2022 season, mess, right? 2023, mess, including against Georgia Tech. 2024 came up short of the playoffs, came up short of the ACC title game. This season, lost to Louisville, lost to SMU, couldn't get in the ACC title game. A big rigmarole as to whether they deserve to get in or not. Some people said, the hell with head to head. Doesn't matter. They lost to Louisville SMU, right? But then, here's the thing. They get in. And they show everybody. Some of y'all think we don't deserve to get in. Well, we're going to show you why we got in. Won a tight one against Texas A&M. Won a good one against the Ohio State Buckeyes on New Year's Eve. I mean, who needs Dick Clark's New Year's Rockin' Eve when you got Miami, Ohio State, And then tonight's game against the Ole Miss Rebels in the Fiesta Bowl. A fantastic finish from the Miami Hurricanes tonight on ESPN with Chris Fowler, Kirk Herbstreit, and the dog at the game.
Yeah, I'm glad that you brought that up, Jackson, because now that you mention it, a small part of me kind of hopes Miami wins just to stick it to the Notre Dame people for being like, why did you let them in over us? And I think, honestly, that could be a point of bulletin board material for Miami being like, hey, there's this whole national outcry of Notre Dame not being let in and us getting in despite not playing in a conference championship game in what is objectively a subpar ACC on paper. And, you've got this attitude to try and go out and prove everybody wrong. And I think that could be something that Mario Cristobal has used to his advantage. In fact, I'm sure he has.
I mean, it was smart of him. Like, that's the thing, though. Like, it's just, it's an incredible run. And I tell people all the time, just because you're a 1 seed or a 2 seed or you got that first round bye does not mean your team is automatically going to win it all. Well, guess what? Miami did not play a home game. They didn't play a home game. They were on the road. They were on neutral site. They did just fine. I mean, all those people that say, oh, well, that team's on the road, they're screwed. Yeah, not so. Not so. Not automatically.
Yeah. And another thing that you brought up too with Miami, the first couple seasons under Cristobal maybe being a little bit shaky. And then, of course, 2024, they finally start to have, some semblance of a team that could be burgeoning into a power. You look between, I mean, what would that be, like 2005 pretty much to 2022? We talk about, here in Tennessee land, we talk about Tennessee being down for so long in that period of time, going through the Butch Jones, the Derek Dooleys, the Jeremy Pruitts of the world. Miami was very much in the same boat with Al Golden. Trying to think who was between. Obviously, Manny Diaz, another name.
Randy Shannon.
Yeah, they had what? They had the turnover chain season with Mark Richt, but outside of that, like I mean, really, the last 15 years between, the early 2000s, I guess, which I guess is closer to 20 years, and up until 2024, they struggled, or at least were a 5 to 8 win team a lot of those seasons.
Oh yeah. Oh, they were, like, no doubt. I mean, like, gone are the last years of the Larry Coker era. Gone are the Randy Shannon, Al Golden, Manny Diaz, Mark Richt eras. It's basically a new era for Miami. Like, they're really just getting things rolling with Cristobal.
Yeah, you could call it the NIL Bowl if Oregon and Miami end up playing each other, because that's where they all keep getting their quarterbacks there in the portal, or just call it the Mario Cristobal, one of the two, because
the Mario Cristobal.
It would be Miami playing Oregon, and I'm sure Oregon fans would be super motivated to go out there and win that game, because that's a program that, unlike Miami, the last 20 seasons has been knocking on the door multiple times, and they have whiffed despite having all their different uniform combos.
Man. And or basically like Miami, Indiana, like that would be a cool one.
Yeah, a part of me would think it's cool. Another part of me is like, do we really want Indiana to win a national championship 2 years after it decided to care about football? As a college football universe, is that healthy?
I mean, that's basically how blue bloods get created in the first place. I mean, it's like, that's fine.
Well, they haven't done anything historically. They didn't even have a 10-win season before Signetti, I don't believe.
No.
Yeah, because I remember looking this up and thinking, huh, that's really interesting. Signetti is like in his own stratosphere just 2 years into the job at Indiana.
Yeah. I mean, like, it'll be pretty cool to see. It'll be interesting to see what happens tomorrow night between Indiana and Oregon. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen, but, it's going to be a wild one. But, SEC Nation can just sit and chill, for the rest of the playoffs.
Yeah, watch some basketball if it makes you happy. No, dude, there's some good SEC games on over the weekend if you're trying not to stew too much. But yeah, I just think it is tough for the SEC to be sitting out of a third championship in a row this season because you haven't won one since Georgia defeated TCU 3 seasons ago. Big Ten has won the last two, and you're looking at either an ACC or Big Ten team winning it this season, which the Big Ten homers are so goofy, man. They really are. They're just like, oh, we own the SEC. It's like, yeah, you don't play the SEC until all their best players opt out at the end of the season. You run from the SEC in the regular season. I'm looking at you, Matt Rule. I am so mad at Matt Rule for canceling the home and home with Tennessee. I was so excited for that. Like Tennessee was going to get to play up there next season, and then Nebraska would come down and play. It would have been really fun. It really would have been an awesome home and home, and he ruined it because he did go off of his scheduling model because like there's no benefit in us playing SEC teams before the postseason. It's like, really, guys, come on. And I'm not acknowledging that the Big Ten doesn't have strong powers at the top. Like I get the Michigans, the Ohio States, the world exist. Obviously, Indiana has shown it's legit. Oregon is still very good, but as a conference, it is not anywhere as deep as the SEC. Like I would be much more intimidated by 2-10 Arkansas than I would Rutgers this season. Absolutely, the Shiano man does not intimidate me. We intimidated him so much that he had to leave Knoxville in 2017.
Yeah, I mean the ghost of Tony Soprano is not coming to save Greg Schiano.
Yeah, no. I think it is tough. It's a tough pill for the SEC to swallow for sure. At least Greg Sankey to swallow. I don't think SEC teams, as I have mentioned, necessarily feel saddened that the other SEC teams that were in the college football playoff did not thrive. I can think of two fan bases that Tennessee is particularly happy to see not do well in the college football playoff that are in the SEC, one of which happens to be on your hat, Jackson. But
yep, that's me.
No, they got to find a way to get right as a league. I mean, whether that is putting your NIL dollars in a different space than you have been doing it before, prioritizing guys on the offensive line in the transfer portal. I know that's been a thing we've brought up here on this show just because you look at the teams this year in the SEC and just how much they got beat up front. Like, Alabama offensive line was not good this season. South Carolina's offensive line has been bad for multiple seasons. Tennessee's offensive line was good for a half of the season and then just collapsed down the stretch. LSU had a terrible offensive line this year after having a phenomenal one the year before. Looking around, Oklahoma's offensive line was not good for much of the season this year. So I just you have to improve there, and then you have to improve on the defensive line as well. Like the trenches have got to get better in the SEC if it wants to start winning titles again, or if teams in the SEC really do care about winning titles again.
Oh, agreed. Like they got to put more money into their NIL funds for sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. But tonight was a wild ride. The Hurricanes got it done against the Rebels, and their season continues on. But the Ole Miss season for 2026 is only 240 days away until it starts. 239 for those in the Eastern time. It's only 233 days until the 2026 edition of Week Zero. Yep, I'm getting the countdown clock started, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, you got to get it ready for Paul, Jackson. Get it ready for Paul, so you can tell him all about it when you call him. Yeah, but no, I'm already looking forward to next season. Just seeing the 9 games and how exciting of a schedule that's going to be. It's going to be tough for everybody, but it's going to be really fun. I'm looking forward to it. But I guess just looking at Ole Miss, and I know we mentioned that this season was a great success for them. Now you look at what is happening next season. Getting Kawan Lacey back is huge. The Trinidad Chambliss thing is still up in the air. Do you get him to resign, or not resign, but do you get him that eligibility waiver? That's what you have to worry about now. And I don't know what Ole Miss has in store behind him at the moment, because Austin Simmons is now with Eli Drinkwitz up in Missouri. And to my knowledge, Ole Miss has not portaled anybody at quarterback, not even like a backup. Because I've been looking at the portal entries at quarterback, and they just keep getting smaller and smaller by the day. Sam Levitt has not shown any interest in Ole Miss. Dylan Raiola, I don't know what his interests are. We did find out that Damon Williams is staying put at Washington, so I guess Cordell Landers got bullied into submission by boosters and the university itself. So I think that creates an interesting situation. Do you think there could be a potential quarterback swap between Missouri and Ole Miss, with Bo Prabula potentially going down there if he does not end up at Virginia Tech or Georgia Tech? That's obviously a possibility. We'll see what they decide to do at quarterback, because I think that's the most important next step. But I think one of the important things for Ole Miss is that you have buy-in from a roster that is without its head coach from most of this season. Obviously, Golding getting that role now, but they're bought into him, which I think is important.
Oh yeah, we're gonna wait and see what happens. Like I'm already just kind of counting down as well to the Ole Miss LSU matchup in Week 3 of the 2026 season, because that's gonna be a fun one. But it's gonna be fun to see what's happening in 2026. So it's gonna be time to get rocking and rolling. Well, Tucker, what magic are you cooking up this week, good buddy?
Portal, and more portal over there at CFBHQ on SI. We are talking all things transfer portal over there right now. It's been a very, very interesting offseason with the portal. You've got, I believe, over 4,000 entries in the NCAA transfer portal right now, which is it's crazy. We're getting a little out of control, but that's just where we are in college football right now. So covering all of that, and I guess we have basically one more week of that but before the portal officially closes. Not that guys won't be committing after that, but you'll still see some stuff there. Of course, on our side over there at Ballswire with Dan Harrelson at USA Today, still covering the recruiting. Recruiting, there is some news going on. I know there's been some visits that the coaches have done to players, like to see them at school. And there is one piece of basketball recruiting news that I got a hold of today, that a guy that was committed to Alabama who decommitted a while ago, who's from Tennessee, could potentially flip to the Vols. He's coming in on a visit January 31st. So that's another piece of news. But recruiting, I'm assuming, will pick up as we get into spring. And then, of course, we are over on the Voice of College Football Tennessee channel, Tennessee at the Voice of College Football. Myself and Jordan Binkley, we're live every Monday night at 8 Eastern time, trying to figure out what we'll do this week. I know we're going to talk portal acquisitions. In fact, Tennessee got a couple more tonight, and former Penn State defensive tackle Xavier Gilliam and the Louisville kicker Ramvier is his last name. I'm blanking.
Smokey, I'm looking at Smokey's eyes. He looks he's kind of droopy for a moment. He's looking all sad for a moment. He's trying to look happy, but he's looking sad for a moment.
Yeah, he's just wanting us to get more portal acquisitions, which Tennessee does need a few more of them. But no, it's funny, Jackson. I don't know if you've been following this, but the live mascot, they're having to get a new one because the old dog was way too overstimulated, and it wasn't working out. They're not having to put him down or anything. He's just going into a piece.
Oh, that's good.
Oh, he's only a few years old. He's got a long way to go in his short dog life, but they are actively searching for a new Smokey. I have yet to see a new Smokey be named, but
I hope the current Smokey's getting some scratches behind the ears because dogs always love that.
Oh, they do. They do.
Thank God.
But if that report comes out, Jordan and I will tell you about it at Tennessee at the Voice of College Football.
Well, for sure, man. I know I give the Vols crap from time to time, but it's just I always love the dogs. But it's like if I ever meet Smokey, I'm not gonna lie, I'm probably gonna be petting them, to be honest, if the owners are all right with it.
Oh, yeah, they'll let you take pictures with them. I've pet them before, or at least one of the older ones.
Yeah. So there you go, man. But in all seriousness, tell your friends, your family, and the cashiers at Publix about the magic that Tucker brings on Balls Wire, CFB on HQ at Sports Illustrated, and Tennessee at the Voice College Football, where he and Jordan are 30 subs away from that magic number 1,000. Let's help them get to 1,000 subs. And who was it you're on with again on Monday night? Is Schleiport or
Ryan Shumpert, my good friend Ryan Shumpert, who I went to high school with, works at Rocky Top Insider. Probably behind 247 and On Three, probably the most reliable outlet when it comes to Tennessee football coverage. Also not paywalled like On Three and 247 Sports, so that's even better. That's a bonus. But they do terrific work over there. Him, Rick Butler, Ryan Sylvia, who we've both had on this show as well, two great friends of mine, and Jack Foster, who does some stuff for them on the baseball side. Still trying to hunt him down for a show, but he and I were in the UT journalism school at the same time, so they're good people over there.
There we go, man. Where's that applause button for? There it is. Keeping it rocking and rolling on Tennessee Voice College Football. Now, this guy is one of the hardest working men that I've met, man. I tell you what, I mean, he's like juggling on journalist gigs. He's juggling Tennessee Voice College Football and SEC at the Voice College Football. Why did I almost forget that for a moment? Like, because you bring all kinds of magic here on SEC at the Voice College Football, man.
Yeah, we be sure to do it every Wednesday night here on this show, and then post game as we do occasionally when there's a big game like we did tonight. But always making sure to do that. I guess we don't have any more post game shows to do for this year, but you only had two more opportunities potentially after tonight.
Not for at least the next 238 days. We don't have to do post game shows on the AC channel.
No,
but we could do college basketball. Not sure. We could, maybe. We don't know.
Yeah, potentially. If they're desperate for it. But now the SEC basketball season is pretty interesting this year. It's a bit more open than it was a season ago. You had some really good teams in the SEC a season ago, like historically great teams in that conference last year. Not so much the case this year because you've had a lot of roster turnover, as is expected when you've got guys that have been around for a minute. But the league is intriguing, to say the least, especially since I think with last night's win, Vanderbilt might be the best team in the league.
Oh, they're
Yes.
looking. Yeah, Mark Byington's doing a great job over there.
Yeah. I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. They are probably the best team in the league right now. I don't see them losing a game until they play at Arkansas later this month. Arkansas is a team that I don't think got enough respect in the preseason polls. I think they're very good. And I'm not saying that because Tennessee lost out there. I really do think they are a good basketball team.
There you go, man. Well, as I say, be sure to tune into the magic that Tucker brings all right here on SEC at the Voice of College Football, Tennessee at the Voice of College Football, Balls Wire, and CFB HQ on SI. And you can check me out on Alabama at the Voice of College Football, where Travion Ware and I did an emergency live stream on today on Isaiah Horton entering the transfer portal. And we went over other portal targets that Alabama needs to go after as well. And you can also check me out all right here on SEC at the Voice of College Football, where I am learning to make some beard magic with Andrew Miller. And, I'm hanging with my good buddy Tucker Harlan and my other good buddy Josh Mahler as we all bring you magic all right here on SEC at the Voice of College Football. And I've got some upcoming episodes of the Jacksonian coming your way. All that, much more. For more updates, what I've got going on, check me out on Jacksonville CFP on /Twitter and on Instagram page, Jackson Johns 543908. And with that being said, like, comment, subscribe, click on the notification bell to SEC at the Voice of College Football so you never miss another video whatsoever. And we will see y'all soon. Good night, everybody.